Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time we are on Wombat Gulch playing as the Tomb Kings against the Dawi in a match that I've been trying to get for a while and finally did manage to get it. So, well, it's a tough matchup for the Tomb Kings. In a lot of ways, it's like Lizardmen against Dwarves because normally you rely so much on your big monsters and your heavy hitters that against the Dwarves, who can really hard counter those units, having to fall back on your infantry, which is not that great, is rather difficult. Now sure, Tomb King Infantry does have silver shields, which is awesome. They have respectable combat stats on the Tomb Guard, but not much AP. And obviously you are very squishy. You don't have much armor, so blasting charges especially will mulch you. So it is a bit of a tough matchup, and I wanted to try to take advantage of the Tomb Princes, who have a cool ability here on an open map. Can be difficult to cap close, but they do have this cool ability, the Cloak of the Dunes, which I hope would let me get close. Now for the rest of the build, well, our Lord is Arkin the Black, who I think is a pretty good choice in this matchup. You can see here I was hiding him behind the rock in case my opponent had cannons. I didn't want to get sniped into oblivion immediately. He does have Purple Sun of Zerus, which I think is the best. If you're looking for a spell to use against Dwarves, personally I don't like Fate of Fiona because if your opponent brings a Rune Lord, it's going to screw you over. And Soul Blight is obviously good, but the rest of the spells in Lord of Death are not that useful in my opinion. So Purple Sun I think is pretty nifty. You can use it to nuke blobs especially and get some good value that way. We also have the Libra Mortis and the Tomb Blade of Arkin to get our summons, and he is of course on his Strider Chariot, so he'll be able to blitz through, drop his skeletons, hopefully run amok with the other chariots and do a lot of work. Our main line is composed of 5 units of Tomb Guard, backed by 5 units of Skeleton Warriors who are all over the periphery. These guys, of course, are just cannon fodder. The Tomb Guard is kind of expected. They will be able to chew through miners and deal with Longbeards and stuff like that in the long run, but obviously they're not going to be... If my opponent brings, for example, Ironbreakers or something, these guys are going to get mulched. On the flanks, we do have 2 units of Carrion over here, 2 units of Carrion over here, so definitely pretty useful, hoping to shut down enemy backlines. And finally, we do have 2 Tomb Princes, as discussed before. One of them has Guardian, one does not. Otherwise, they do have the same kit. They've got the Curse of Joff, they've got the Cloak of the Dunes to get that Stalking and Spottable. They do have Tomb Strike because Terra is pretty nifty against Dwarves. And then a Blade of Setep. And when I said Terra is nifty, it is nifty. Dwarves, although they obviously have a reputation for high leadership, you can still tear out a lot of their units. They're definitely not unbreakable. Or Blackguard level of leadership. So, Blade of Setep, of course, a nice debuff to armor, which you really need to get value out of your Tomb Guard. For my opponent, he did decide to go with a bit of a gun box, and that was a weird bit of zoom there. That wasn't even zooming, but either way, for my opponent, he did decide to go very, very boxy. So for his Lord, he is actually going with a generic Dwarf Lord and no equipment. He's simply sitting here in the front line to soak up charges alongside 4 units of minor blasting charges. These guys, of course, will mulch through my lower end troops pretty efficiently. Behind that, we do have the Warriors Dragonfire Pass, and then 3 units of Thunders boxed up, ready to unload on high value targets. Though, fortunately for me, there are not many high value targets here. There's also the Ultar's Raiders here to apply their debuff. 2 units of Longbeards on the flanks, a single unit of Giant Slayers here in the back, and then 4 Bolt Throwers. And this build, not exactly the best equipped to deal with massive infantry, but definitely Bolt Throwers with their Pierce and ability to one-shot models can potentially pick apart some of these Tomb Guard before they hit the line. There is also a Master Engineer here, providing a few buffs. He does have the... Actually, he's got most of his buffs, surprisingly. He's got extra powder, which is useless, I think. He's got Prospector Spyglass, which is nice. Extra accuracy, always good. Ballistics Calibration, and then Entrenchment. All pretty solid abilities. And he himself can deliver some damage. So definitely a bit of an interesting build, focusing very much on shooting. And against monsters, this would devastate him. This is why you can't really bring monsters, many if any monsters in this matchup. But you can see the Skeleton Warriors, they're losing about 20 miles, but they're skeletons, so who cares. And the Bolt Throwers are going to sort of expend most of their ammo here, wasting shots essentially on Tomb Guard and Skeletons. And sure, Tomb Guard is a little more valuable, but they're not that valuable. In the meantime, using the Cloak of Dunes, my Tomb Princes were able to dash into cover here, and then they're going to be looking to sneak around this way, while the Carrion are looking to converge on my opponent. In the meantime, my opponent is also ignoring Arkin, who's kind of sneaking around here, looking to get a flank charge in potentially. And these Thunders pivoted to engage these Carrion. So that does mean they are not focusing on the front line. Obviously, they can't do very much against Silver Shields, but nonetheless, it does mean they're not focusing on the right direction for when these Carrions start swooping in. And you can see I'm making a mad dash here, looking to shut down these Thunders as quickly as I possibly can. The Bolt Throwers absolutely mulching my Tomb Guard. Definitely doing some good work there. The Carrion are going to dive in, start shutting down these Thunders, which is nice. Obviously, they're not going to be killing very much, but they can tie them down, which is the main problem here. In the meantime, in come the Tomb Princes. My opponent isn't paying attention to his Ultar's Raiders, and we are going to be able to just pile into these guys and start, well, actually get a super anticlimactic charge, get bogged down, and get stuck brawling with Ulthar's Raiders. So kind of a disaster, but hey, we tried our hearts out. In the meantime, in comes Arkin, casting an immediate purple Son of Zerus on top of our own carrion, as well, and more importantly, these Thunders. You can see it's actually going to melt this unit, then sweep down, and actually kind of meander here. It does do a little bit of damage, I think, to the Warriors' Dragonfire Pass, but nothing too fancy. That said, we did remove a unit of Thunders from the field, which is really good. Filipino wouldn't do it that quickly, which is nice. You can usually guarantee a unit removed. Meantime, the Giant Slayers here are pursuing very intently, but we have managed to drop a single unit of Skelly Warriors over here on the Bolt Thrower, tying these two Bolt Throwers down. My opponent's very compact formation, because he didn't have that much width on his front line. His compact formation now means that I can shut down multiple units at once with relative ease. And we are starting to swarm here. We've got numbers. We've got our Tomb Princes piling through, ignoring these Longbeards, forcing off Ulthar's Raiders. But unfortunately, Arkin here got caught by the Giant Slayers while I wasn't paying attention. The Dwarf Lord isn't there as well, and because I'm not really too aware of what's going on, or I wasn't paying good attention, you can see that Arkin's actually starting to take some hurt, and I really need to run. He gets a hit there from the Dwarf Lord. He's getting shot by, I think, the Thunders or the Engineer, perhaps. Maybe even the Bolt Throwers on guard mode. And so he's falling apart, so he is forced to run away here. I'm sending him after the Ulthar's Raiders, getting peppered down the whole time by one of these Bolt Throwers, which is still online. But we do get our Tomb Princes through, and they are starting to rout these Bolt Throwers. Big misplay on my part here is not casting the Tomb Strike. I could have used it here and forced off both of these Bolt Thrower crews probably, but I didn't, so that was a big misplay. In the meantime, in the front line, well, some of our Tomb Guard is falling apart to the Giant Slayers, but who really cares? The Giant Slayers taking about 2,000 damage there to Tomb Guard, which is definitely showing, and these guys, this was, I'm pretty sure, the mauled unit of Tomb Guard that had like 50 models going in, so that just shows how powerful this unit can be, even against units like Giant Slayers. In the meantime, the Thunderers in full retreat here, trying to reposition and find a new home over on this flank so that they can fire into the mass. Arkin, in the meantime, finally does rally and stabilize at 440 HP, and he's running down these Ulthar's Raiders, removing them from play, because these guys do have a nasty debuff, so potentially if they can come back and get that debuff off, that would be very uncomfortable for me. In the meantime, huge misplay over here. Two Skeleton Warriors as well as the Tomb Guard bogged down on these Longbeards, which really shouldn't be happening. I should be taking these guys over to here, to this pocket, to wipe it out. The Tomb Princes, though, paying their dues here, running amok. Certainly, Giant Slayers are trying to shut them down, but in turn, the Giant Slayers are being swarmed by Skeleton Warriors. They are being swarmed by, actually, most of the Skeleton Warriors. Some Tomb Guard are in there as well. And they are slowly but surely whittling these guys down. We actually hit them with a Blade of Step to lower their physical resistance. They don't have armor, but physical resist drop is nice. In the meantime, the Tomb Princes are able to run amok, and we do get our Shopti summon here on the Thunderers. So this unit is going to be removed from play and forced to reconsider their life choices here. We hit them with a Blade of Satep as well, and in come Shopti and the Tomb Princes, of course, trying to pile onto these guys and push them off. In the meantime, I do manage to fight clear here with some more Tomb Guards, so they are now piling into this big dog pile here in the center. Curse of Jaff goes off, debuffing all these troops, making the Slayers much worse, and forcing them to stand and fight, which is really not what they want to be doing. Slayers never want to be fighting Skeleton Warriors. It's just not cost effective, and here they're bleeding HP for nothing. In the meantime, the Thunder is being removed from play by the Ushapti, and on the periphery, Arkin is just running roughshod over all these troops, routing them and forcing them away, and I really don't want any of those troops coming back, so even at 440 HP, obviously he's not going to be a killer. He can't come back here because even a few scrapes from the Missile Engineer or Master Engineer would be enough to put him down, but he is able to distract and dissuade my opponent over there. And over here, the Engineer is getting swamped by Tomb Guard, and to an extent, the Tomb Princes. Obviously, he's going to be able to hold his own for a very long time. He's got that Dwarven 120 armor. He's got his own Warhammer there, so he's no pushover in melee. Certainly, Tomb Guard will whittle him down over time. I think they probably could cut him down over time, but especially as exhaustion and very tired sits in. But he is definitely going to be holding his own, at least for a little while. In the meantime, elsewhere, these Thunders did rally, so we pulled some Skeleton Warriors off to deal with them, and in come the Tomb Princes looking to get another meaty side charge. I do believe one of them cast... No, I guess one of them didn't cast an ability there, but they are able to get in on the flank of these Thunders and run them over. You can see they're losing models left and right because, of course, as we know, Heroic Chariots do tend to kill models on the charge, which is awesome, or actually they just tend to kill models, period, so they're able to remove these guys from play. My opponent at this point is basically reduced to just a few melee troops, and this is huge for me because the missiles were really what was going to be a killer to Arkin and to the Princes. So now the Princes are able to remove these Thunders from play. They're able to sweep around this way, deal with these Bolt Thrower crewmen. Just doing a great job there. And in the meantime, over here, the Longbeard's still stuck on Skeleton Warriors. So really not... Obviously, these guys are up to like 128 kills, but that doesn't matter because they're fighting trash. And so I just don't have to care. We are going to run over this Bolt Thrower crew, remove them from play. Arkin over here still farming kills. The Ushapti summon running off the Thunderers and removing them from play. And things all in all looking pretty good. We do get a Soul Blight now because Arkin is coming back. Now that I've removed all that missile play from my opponents, he now is sort of stuck here, and I'm free to cast spells. So we hit him with a Soul Blight that's going to make the Master Engineer much weaker, and the Tomb Princes over here are kind of laughing at the Slayers, riding away as they run over the poor Dwarven infantry. The Thunders here facing the wrong direction as they get rear charged and shattered. So even the Dwarf leadership there cannot hold up. In the meantime, the Longbeards here once again being run over roughshod by the Tomb Princes, who do have Tomb Strike active. Obviously not going to work against Longbeards who have Immunity Psychology, but still get a little bit of bonus there. And in the meantime, we're going to swing around this way and look to collapse this pocket. And the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are susceptible to tear, so perhaps I should have saved it there, but oh well, I did not. And so we do run through the Longbeards there. In comes Arkin from behind with the rear charge, and he's going to run right through the Longbeards, ignoring them, not staying in there too long, and just pushes through and lets the Tomb Guard keep fighting. And in the meantime, my opponent is pouring in his last few troops, his Slayers and his Longbeards. We are going to get a nice little recharge here with the Tomb Prince, running a few of them down. Ballistics Calibration going off. It's just nothing in this situation. Buffs the Master Engineer a little bit, but that's really it. Handful of Longbeards here trying to fight to the bitter end, but Soul Blight is going down. We've got Skeleton Warriors collapsing on the flanks. Arkin is going to make another pass in before my opponent's Engineer can get back online. You can see the breaking here, the terror coming in from the Tomb Strike. In comes Arkin, getting a little too close for comfort. Obviously a bit of a misplay here on my part, just allowing him to get too close. But we are going to be able to raise the unit of Skeletons right here on top of my opponent. Giant Slayers down to 2 models, fighting courageously for the clan. The last one is standing over here, getting his head chopped off. He's a really big dwarf. He's like bigger than all of those guys. My opponent is going to shatter 2 army losses. So a fun match. Tomb Kings obviously do have other builds that you can work with. Ushapti Great Bow spam is viable, and it's actually something I ran before successfully in the game against what was, I would say, not necessarily the most competitive Dwarven pick. I thought this was a much more competitive build, and I thought this was a better match to demonstrate. Carrion, obviously very valuable in this match, not getting a lot of kills, but they just shut down that backline so effectively. Purple Sun of Zerus doing a great job on the Thunders. Honestly, when you've only got Soulblade and Purple Sun, I think Purple Sun can get some net to use some value. If it gets on top of some important troops, some Iron Breakers, some Thunders, some Giant Slayers, you can get huge value. And the Tomb Princes, of course, generating massive value as well, just running amok, running all over those troops, shutting down the backline. And the Cloak of Dunes helping them get in quickly. Otherwise, for the build, Tomb Guard did a okay. Skeleton Warriors surprisingly getting 59 kills, which is just nuts. It's nuts. I don't actually know how they got 59 kills against Dwarfs. This might have been one of the units that was fighting the miners the whole time, or was pursuing them off the field. I'm not entirely sure, but that's really odd. But the Tomb Guard, more importantly, really dishing out the hurt. Most of them did okay. This unit, of course, whittled down very badly by the Bolt Throwers, but managed to take down quite a chunk of the Giant Slayers. And so it worked out. Is it the most competitive build? I'm not sure. There's a lot of builds you can try to do with Tomb Kings. I'm not sure any of them are super foolproof. Dwarves have, I think, more options in this matchup. That said, for my opponent's build here, if I was to critique it a bit, I think there's way too much investment into shooting. Nowhere near enough backline coverage. You've only got a single unit of Giant Slayers. You've got a small, thin front line of miners who are susceptible to fear and terror. So are the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Only your Longbeards are really immune to fear and terror. So you've got a very susceptible front line to breaking, and you don't really have, like, this firing. Sure, it'll do well against a monster, but if you need to bust through silver shields, it's not going to cut the mustard. And you're very susceptible to getting shut down. Second of all, in deployment, my opponent deployed in a very tight box. That's another big problem. You don't want to be tight in your deployment because one, it makes you susceptible to spells. Two, it makes you susceptible to multiple units getting shut down. You'll get like a single unit of Carrion, I think, hit 2 Thunders at the same time, which is just not what you want happening. But otherwise, a cool build, and I think by and large, definitely a good idea. Personally, I'd probably ditch the Master Engineer and put in like 3 more units of miners. I think that would do you much, much better. But regardless, well played to Linux FR here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Finally got some Tomb King on Dwarf action. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, don't hesitate to post them down below, and I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.